You wake to the smell before the pain. It's thick and sweet, like overripe fruit left to decay on a warm stone. You try to turn your head, but your skin pulls strangely at your neck, tight in some places, soft and wet in others. The pillow beneath you is damp, not from sweat. You lift your hand to your face. Your fingers hesitate. You've done this before. You already know what you'll feel, but you touch anyway. And the skin comes away. Not all of it, just a thin yellow patch that peels like parchment. You stare at the flap of flesh in your palm, then at your fingers, stained with something darker than blood. You want to scream, but there's no one to hear you. The chamber is lit by a single candle, its wax pooling near your elbow, its flame struggling against the draught from the window slit. Outside, bells toll for morning mass. You're meant to be there, kneeling with your sisters, reciting prayers from memory, but instead you lie here, watching yourself come undone. The nursemaid enters without knocking. She always used to knock. She was kind once. Now she does not meet your eyes. She wears a scarf tied over her mouth, as if you were already a corpse. She carries a basin of rose water and a bundle of linen. The basin is steaming. The cloth is clean. But the way she holds them, at a distance like you might lunge and bite, makes you feel monstrous. You whisper her name, but she does not answer. She dips the cloth, wrings it out and presses it to your cheek. The pressure makes you wince. The skin beneath the cloth splits. A sickly warmth spreads down your jawline. Still, she says nothing. Your hair has been shaved. You don't remember when. There are tufts of it on the pillow, tangled with dried pus. You're no longer allowed mirrors, but you catch glimpses. In the polished metal of the basin, the reflection in her eyes. You're unrecognizable. Your nose is swollen. Your lips have cracked. The lesions have multiplied. They used to call it a rash. Then, the swelling. Now, they call it nothing at all. No one says what it is. Not in front of you. But you've heard whispers from behind the tapestries. You've seen how the chambermaids cross themselves after changing your linens. You've seen how your younger brother holds his breath when he brings you broth. The rot, someone whispered last week. The king's evil, another muttered. You're not sure which is worse, the decay or the silence that surrounds it. Your mother visits at dusk, always after the servants have changed your bandages and burned the old ones in the courtyard fire. She wears her finest cloak as if coming to court, not to your bedside. Her perfume tries to mask the stench, but only makes it worse. She stands at a distance, rosary clutched in her trembling hands. She prays aloud now, loudly, as if volume will save you. She never touches you. When she leaves, she instructs the servants to change the linens again, twice. The royal physician enters in her place. He wears gloves. He does not smile. He mutters Latin as he peels away the compresses from your chest. You feel something burst beneath the cloth. The smell makes him gag. He pretends it doesn't. He dabs the wound with a tincture that stings so sharply your back arches off the bed. He calls this progress. He says your body is purging itself of toxins. He says this is a cleansing. You do not feel cleansed. You feel burned, drenched, hollowed out. At night, you dream of water, not rivers or fountains, buckets, basins, pools of fluid that soak your sheets and your skin. You wake with the taste of iron in your mouth and the sensation that something inside you is unravelling. You try to sit upright, but your joints rebel. Your knees have stiffened. Your spine screams. There's no fever, only cold, deep and steady, as if your body is being claimed by stone from the inside out. In the morning your father visits. He does not come near you. He stands in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes hidden in shadow. His crown is not on his head, but held in one hand. His jaw clenches. He says nothing for a long time. Then, finally, we are summoning new physicians. That is all. He turns and walks away before you can ask what that means. They don't call it dying. They call it affliction. They call it trial. They say God is testing your house, but you know the truth. You are rotting, and you are royal, and no one will save you, because they cannot decide whether your suffering is a curse, a punishment, or the price of your bloodline. And because if they name it, if they admit what's happening to you, they will have to admit it could happen to them. They don't speak the name in your presence, but they speak it. Behind velvet curtains, in the servants' quarters, in corridors where the torchlight flickers too low to catch a face, but just enough to catch a whisper. Scrofula, the king's evil. As if naming it after royalty makes it sound less like rot and more like fate. They say your great-uncle had it, the one whose portraits were all destroyed after his death, the one whose skin turned to wax and whose neck split open like fruit too full to hold its pulp. He was 22. He died with no ceremony, no procession, no coin struck in his memory. You never saw his face. You were never meant to. Because royalty is supposed to be immune. That's the myth. That your blood is so refined, so holy, so divinely ordered that even disease must kneel before it. And yet you bleed, and you rot, and no one looks at you anymore without flinching. They still dress you in silk, but silk does not cling to open sores. They lace your gowns higher now to hide your neck. They fasten your sleeves tighter to cover the spreading ulcers that bloom like red flowers beneath your skin. Your nurse cuts your food small so you don't need to chew. The swelling in your jaw is returned. The physician now says swelling of the lymph. He does not say infection. He does not say necrosis. He does not say the word that hangs above your bed like smoke. Because words have power in this place. Names carry curses, and no one wants to be the one who cursed the king's daughter with the truth. But you are not the only one. Your cousin Anne has not been seen in months. They say she's studying abroad, but you know she's locked in the North Tower. She sent you a letter once, 3 lines, smudged with something that wasn't ink. They are letting it eat me. They say I am holy. Why does holiness hurt? You burned the letter. You had to. Because if they knew she had written to you, they might burn you both. The rot runs in the blood. That's what they say. Quietly, under breath, when they think you're sleeping. They blame it on your ancestors. How many times did uncle marry niece? How many cousins were wed for the sake of keeping titles locked within the family like treasure? They didn't care that the bodies paid the price. They called it purity. But purity in the royal court often meant madness, lameness, blindness, skin that split without reason, joints that twisted as children grew, babies born without cries, teenagers who aged in reverse, young faces collapsing into ruin before their names were ever spoken at court. And still they married their daughters to their cousins, because bloodlines mattered more than bodies. You remember the library. You remember the old leather-bound texts, sealed in Latin, pressed into the shelves like sacred scripture. One of them, hidden behind the others, spoke of hereditary rot. The physician's assistant had left it open. You read while no one watched. Affliction common among noble houses of the Western courts, manifesting as wasting, ulceration, swelling of the glands, deformation of joints and jaws, most often fatal within the 2nd decade of life. You stopped reading after that. Because you are 15. You stare at your hands sometimes. They are thinner now, not graceful, hollow. The knuckles protrude like stones, the fingertips turning yellow in the cold. Your nails fall off one by one. No one speaks of it. They just bring gloves, always gloves. You remember what it felt like to be touched, to be kissed on the cheek, to be held when you wept. Now they bow, but they do not touch. You're not contagious, they say, but they treat you like you are. The washing bowls are burned after use. Your bedsheets are changed daily and boiled. No servant stays longer than a week in your room. They cycle through new girls from the village. One's too poor or too desperate to refuse. They don't last long. One girl fainted after changing your dressings. Another was found crying in the laundry, her apron soaked in blood she couldn't name. They all leave with the same look, like they saw a ghost that still breathed. You are still breathing. but just. At court, they tell guests you're recovering. You're not allowed to dine publicly anymore. The last time you did, your face began to bleed into your soup. The Queen Mother rose first. The others followed. That night you were locked in your chamber. You have not left since. The curse has a name, and it has a lineage. You are the next in line. The court has stopped praying for your recovery. They pray for your usefulness, because if you can't marry, can't bear heirs, then your body, broken as it is, must still serve some political function, a symbol, a warning, a reminder that even the most golden blood can rot from the inside out, that kings are not gods, that queens can decay, and that purity, once poisoned, eats itself. They carry you to the physician's chamber before dawn. You're too weak to walk. Your feet drag along the stone. One slipper falls off, but no one stops to retrieve it. The air is colder here, drier. It smells of iron and rot masked poorly with lavender, and something sharper, something that stings your eyes before it touches your skin. They place you on a table, not a bed. A table, flat, hard, and slick with oil. You're no longer a girl, you're a body to be studied. The royal physician stands beside his apprentice. Neither of them bows. They do not ask how you feel. They know. Instead, the physician dips his gloved fingers into a bowl of blackened salve. He smears it along the line of your jaw, where the swelling is worst, where the flesh has begun to crack and bubble. You gasp. The mixture is hot, not warm, hot, like coals pressed against your bones. Mercury, he says, not to you but to the boy beside him. Sublimate. The corrupted humours must be driven out. You do not understand the words. You only understand the burn. He applies it again to your collarbone where a sore has opened overnight, wide, wet, rimmed in yellow. The fluid that seeps from it smells like old eggs and vinegar. The boy gags. The physician does not flinch. He is used to this. He has seen worse. You are not the first royal to rot under his care. He lifts a small silver knife from the tray beside him. You watch the reflection of the candlelight dance along the blade's edge. You try to turn away, but a servant grips your shoulders, another your wrists. You're royalty, but you're not sovereign. He cuts without warning. The saw splits with a wet sound. You bite your lip until you taste blood. He presses down, hard and thick. White pus spills from the wound like cream curdled in sunlight. The boy looks away. The servant swallows hard. The physician hums. Better out than in. He says it like a prayer. When he has finished lancing the lesions, he places thin, heated glass cups against your chest. The skin sucks up into them as they cool, bruising purple where the blood pools. To draw the toxins, he mutters. You lie still, your breath shallow, your fingers trembling under the linen. The pain does not scream any more, it simmers. The physician leans over you, his eyes narrowing. You must be brave. Royals do not cry. But you are not brave, and you are not just rotting. You're being unmade. Your skin weeps through the night. The wounds reopen every time you move. They bandage you in layers of gauze soaked in vinegar and ash. The smell follows you like a curse. The next day they try something new, cauterization. The boy brings in a rod of iron, red hot from the coals. You smell it before you see it. You beg, you plead. No words, just whimpers, just tears. No one listens. They hold your arm down. The metal hisses as it touches your shoulder. Your body seizes. You scream until your throat tears. The physician nods, satisfied. The pain blooms like fire through your veins. You smell your own flesh cooking. To close the wound, he says calmly, to seal the evil inside. Afterward you cannot speak. You cannot eat. You cannot sleep. But you survive. Somehow. A week later, they apply leeches to the soft skin beneath your ears. The creatures latch quickly, their bloated bodies squirming with your stolen blood. The boy records how long it takes before you faint. The physician calls it progress. You begin to forget what your skin looked like before the sores, before the slashes, before the salt and the fire and the knives. You no longer know where the disease ends and the treatment begins. Your body is a battlefield, and everyone swears they're fighting for you. But you are the one losing. The servants speak of miracles. They whisper that the king healed a farmer's child last winter, just by laying hands on her forehead. They call it the royal touch. But no one touches you, not anymore. They wrap you in cloth before moving you, not to protect you, but to protect themselves from what they might see, from what they might smell, from what they might catch. You are a cautionary tale still breathing. In the nights your dreams turn to flames, not metaphorical ones. You dream of your flesh on fire, of the knife that keeps cutting, of the cup that draws more blood, of the poison rubbed into your mouth until your teeth fall out in clumps. And when you wake, the rot is still there. The doctors say they're helping, but all you know is pain. They've moved your chambers, not for your comfort, but for the court's convenience. You're no longer kept in the east wing where the garden light once warmed the floor tiles and the songbirds landed on the sill. You're in the back now, past the scullery, past the linen rooms, behind 2 locked doors and a curtain so thick it drinks the air. They say it's for quiet. But what they mean is containment. You don't hear music anymore, or laughter, only footsteps, always quick, always purposeful. No one lingers. No one speaks above a whisper in your corridor. No one wants to be seen near the rotting princess. Your bedposts are carved from walnut and inlaid with pearls. Your sheets are embroidered with golden thread. A holy relic sits on the mantel, a finger bone, they say, from St. Helena herself. All the trappings of royalty remain, but the room smells like vinegar and decay. No amount of rosewater can hide it. The stench clings to you. Beneath the layers of silk, beneath the cloves in your mouth and the violets under your pillow. You can taste it now in the back of your throat, thick, metallic, and constant. They've covered the mirrors, all of them. You didn't ask them to. But one morning, they were gone, draped in velvet, nailed shut, turned to the walls. They said the light made your eyes ache, but you know the truth. You saw yourself once, caught a glimpse in a servant's tray, water pooled in silver, and what looked back wasn't you. Your face had changed, hollowed, your skin blotched like old parchment, crumpled and bruised. A line of crusted lesions ran from your temple to your jaw like a map drawn in rot. Your hair, what's left of it, clings in patches to your scalp. Your mouth opened when you saw it. But no sound came, so now there are no mirrors, and no one speaks of reflection. Your ladies-in-waiting are rotated weekly. They used to stay for years. Girls you knew since childhood, ones who braided your hair and whispered secrets into your sheets. But now they come and go like shadows. They're chosen from families that owe the crown something they cannot repay. Their daughters offered payment. They tend to you with trembling hands, not out of pity, out of fear. One brushes your hair, what she can. Another trims your nails, careful not to cut too deep where the skin splits too easily. A third cleans the sores with a cloth soaked in wine. She cries each time. She thinks you don't notice. But you notice everything now. You notice how they never look directly at your face, how they keep sleeves pulled over their hands, how they speak to each other in silence, eye contact, hand signs, glances, so you won't hear what they won't say aloud. You're not just sick, you're shameful. Once they brought a painter, an older man, famous, favoured by the Queen. You used to sit for him when you were younger. He painted your portrait with a sparrow in your hand and a garland of lilies around your head. This time, he came into the room and turned pale. He stared at your face for less than a second, then looked down. I can do her likeness from memory, he said. He left the room and never returned. Later, you saw the painting in the hall. Your face was flawless, skin porcelain, lips soft, eyes alive. It was a lie so beautiful it hurt. They're rewriting you before you're even gone. Your mother visits less now. When she comes, she brings flowers, not to comfort you, to smother the air. She presses them into your hands, smiling tightly, then leaves them on the window ledge when she departs, untouched, forgotten, already wilting. She speaks only of prayer. She tells you that suffering brings sanctity, that God is near. But when she kisses your forehead, she holds her breath. The courtiers no longer ask for updates. Your name isn't spoken at dinner. At festivals, they toast the health of your younger brothers, not yours. You're fading from the world before death arrives. You live behind silk curtains now, not for warmth, not for luxury, but because shame must be wrapped in softness, because rot must not be seen in daylight, because a royal can decay in private, as long as the public never notices. You look out the narrow window at dusk, watch the silhouettes of carriages move past the walls, hear faint laughter from a feast you weren't invited to. You press your fingers against the cool stone and realize you no longer feel the cold. Your body is changing in ways you can't name, but the court doesn't need to name it. They only need to forget. You were promised to a prince in Burgundy. You were 9 when the contract was sealed. His miniature portrait arrived 3 days later, painted in ivory and framed in gold. He had curls the colour of chestnuts and eyes like stormlight. You kept it beneath your pillow. You practiced his name in whispers. Louis. Now, his envoys no longer write. The last messenger brought only silence. He bowed low, presented a sealed letter to your father, and left before dusk. That night your mother screamed behind closed doors. They say Louis has chosen another, a noble girl from Spain. Younger, healthier, whole. You don't blame him. You wouldn't choose you either. Your hair has not grown back. Your teeth loosen when you chew. The swelling in your neck makes your voice hoarse, almost boyish. You hear yourself speak and do not recognize the sound, and yet the marriage negotiations continue. Your father cannot afford for you to be discarded. A princess without a husband is not a daughter. She is an expense, a liability, a piece of meat slowly turning on the table. So they try again, this time to a duke's son from the lowlands. He is known for his appetite for war, his appetite for wine, and his tolerance for imperfection. He's practical, they say. He'll marry a corpse if the dowry is rich enough. So they make your dowry richer. They send false letters claiming your health has improved. They hire tailors to make gowns that distract from the swelling. They instruct you to smile in front of foreign messengers, even if your lips crack when you do. Your nurse plucks petals from roses and rubs them against your cheeks. "Colour," she whispers, "just a little." But no colour stays, not on dead skin. They dress you in white. They bathe you in lavender and rosewater until your skin wrinkles from soaking. Your chamber is filled with herbs, incense, with bells. You sit beside the hearth in a high-backed chair while visiting dignitaries walk past like you're a relic on display. None of them meet your eyes. You were once trained to curtsy, to play the lute, to dance the galliard, but no one asks you to rise anymore. The court musicians no longer play your favourite tune. The halls echo with laughter meant for others. You are of age now, 14. You bleed regularly. That matters more than anything. Your father's steward notes the dates in a small leather ledger, counting cycles, calculating potential conception. Fertility remains intact, he says over dinner, like reading a weather report. You overhear him one evening. He speaks to a foreign matchmaker behind a carved wooden screen. She is chaste, quiet, humble. He says nothing about the sores, nothing about the smell, nothing about how your skin peels at the collar. The steward laughs when the matchmaker hesitates. She can still bear children, he says, and children do not require beauty. You remember what it felt like to be wanted. A boy once kissed your hand at a harvest feast. A cousin, distant enough to make it innocent. He called you radiant. You blushed so deeply your mother scolded you afterward. That boy is married now. His wife is said to sing like a thrush and carry twins in her belly. You wonder if she smiles in the morning, if he touches her without gloves, No one touches you now. Even the youngest page flinches when he passes your door. You catch your reflection sometimes, not in mirrors, but in the eyes of others. They look through you as if your presence is a memory, like they can't decide whether you're alive or a ghost given a crown. You learn to make yourself smaller. You do not speak unless spoken to. You keep your gloved hands folded neatly in your lap. You drink broth from a silver straw so no one sees you chew. When guests arrive, you position yourself near the window, where the light softens the outline of your jaw. You do not smile unless told to. You do not cough, no matter how badly your throat burns, and when the foreign suitors come, those still desperate enough to consider your title, you watch their eyes move to your collar, your sleeves, your gloves. They always find the flaws, they always decline. You're not unwed because you are unloved. You're unwed because you are untouchable. They tell you the king can heal you, that his hands carry the grace of God, that when he places his palm on your forehead, the rot will withdraw, the sores will dry, the swelling will vanish like breath on glass, that you will be whole again, not just in body, but in name. It's worth it. In the future. You do not believe them, but you let them dress you anyway. They wake you before sunrise. The nurse bathes you in scalding water, scrubbing until your skin breaks. She powders the open wounds, packs them with crushed pearls and chalk, then dresses you in white, the colour of saints and corpses. You're a little of both now. In the great hall they've prepared an altar, not for a funeral, for a miracle. It smells of beeswax and incense and something older, fear masked with hope. Courtiers gather in lines, carrying children wrapped in cloth, blind men led by hand, peasants hunched with twisted spines. They bow, they wait, they believe. You're led through a side door. You're not meant to kneel with the common sickness. You're royal. But even among royals, you're something else. The crowd parts as you approach, not out of reverence, out of revulsion. You feel it in their silence. They do not speak to you. They do not whisper prayers. They look past you, as if to meet your eyes would be to share your fate. The king stands near the altar, your father, your blood. He wears his crown, but not his smile. That left months ago when your skin began to flake and the court's faith began to rot alongside your body. His robes are heavy. His hands are gloved. He sees you and does not flinch, but he does not embrace you. The bishop recites the rite, Latin murmured through clouds of incense. The same words they've used for centuries. The same phrases were spoken to beggars and nobles alike. In nomine patris, they begin. Et fili, they chant. The king lifts his hand, the court holds its breath. You hold yours. His fingers touch your forehead, bare, for the first time in months. You feel the warmth of his skin, the pressure of lineage pressing down, and beneath that the tremble he cannot hide. He is afraid. You are a reflection. He pulls his hand away too quickly. The bishop proclaims it done. The crowd exhales. The courtiers murmur assent. She will heal, someone says. The king has touched her. God has seen it. But you know the truth. There is no heat in your veins, no light behind your eyes, no sudden breath of ease in your lungs. The wound on your shoulder still weeps beneath the linen. Your jaw still aches when you speak. Your skin still burns at every seam. The miracle is not for you, it is for them. They need to believe the king can heal, that the blood of heaven flows through the veins of monarchs, that the divine still sits on earthly thrones. Because if the king is only a man and his daughter still decays, then what does that say of their world? What does that say of their God? They dress you in garlands. They parade you through the courtyard. Musicians play flutes and strings. Doves are released into the sky, flapping pale wings against the grey. You wave. Your hand is shaking beneath the glove. Children are brought forward for their blessing. Peasants kneel. A mother presses her infant toward your feet, hoping for contagion that cures. You do not stop her. You're too tired, too afraid of what might pass between you. Back in your chamber, they lay you on fresh sheets. A servant pours wine, another feeds you sugared almonds. They speak of your colour, your strength, your miraculous recovery. They ignore the blood in your mouth, the new sore rising beneath your chin. You close your eyes. You dream of your father's hand, the weight of it, the way it recoiled, the way he looked at you, not like a daughter, but like something fragile and dangerous. The ritual is over, but the rot is not. They say it is a celebration, a feast held in your honour, to mark your recovery, to show the court that you're no longer fading, that the king's touch worked, that your skin is clean, your blood obedient, your body restored. You know it's a lie, but still they dress you. The gown is heavy brocade stitched with silver vines and lilies. It once belonged to your aunt, who died before her wedding day. You're told it flatters your figure, hides the thinness of your arms, the curve of your bones. A veil is pinned beneath your circlet, not to mark your nobility, but to dim your face. They light the hall with torches dipped in resin. The flames flicker high above the long table. There are musicians in the gallery playing soft notes and a minstrel reciting verse. But the laughter feels staged, too loud, too fast. You're seated at the head of the table, beside your father. He raises his cup and speaks of resilience, of royal strength, of divine mercy. The courtiers nod and toast. Their goblets clink like iron bells. They drink to your health without looking at you. The servants place food before you. Pheasant glazed in honey, boiled chestnuts, sugared fruit in crystal dishes. You cannot eat. Your throat is raw. Your stomach clenches. The sweet smell makes your vision tilt. No one notices that your plate remains full, or perhaps they pretend not to. Your hands remain in your lap, gloved, as always. You do not lift your veil. You do not speak unless spoken to. When a visiting duke inquires after your health, you say, improving, and smile with cracked lips. The priest at the far end of the table watches you too closely. He knows. He saw your bandages last week. He helped bless the salve they rubbed onto your open wounds. He saw what your skin has become. But even he says nothing, because this is not a feast. It is a funeral without a corpse, a performance stage before your body can no longer perform. They cannot display your decay, so they stage its opposite. If they cannot heal you, they will pretend you were never ill. It is easier that way. Cleaner. A story where the next princess can live inside. The minstrel shifts to a softer tune, your lullaby, the one your nurse sang when your bones ached with fever, when you were still small enough to be carried without shame. You feel your throat tighten. You do not cry. You haven't cried in weeks. Your mother sits 2 seats away, her hands folded. She wears mourn in black, though no one has died. Yet. When her eyes meet yours, she doesn't blink. That's how you know it's real. They are saying goodbye. Your father speaks again. Something about legacy, about duty, about the noble burden of suffering. The words drift like ash. You barely hear them. Your head swims. Your fingers twitch under the tablecloth. Your shoulder is bleeding again. You can feel it. The warmth seeping through the bandage. The slow pulse of infection underneath. You wonder if it will reach your heart before the next sunrise. You wonder if that would be mercy. The guests rise one by one to offer their blessings. Some place coins at your feet. Others give rings, embroidered handkerchiefs, and holy medals, not as gifts, as tokens, as proof that they were here, that they saw the miracle, that they believed the lie. The feast ends. You're escorted from the hall in silence. The musicians stop playing before you reach the door. Behind you, the guests resume drinking, but without you, the celebration sounds like relief. They tell the court you died of fever, a sudden illness, peaceful, surrounded by prayer. The physicians are praised for their care, the priests for their vigilance, the king for his mercy. Your name is spoken once more, but only in past tense. No one says what the fever burned away. No one speaks of the rot. Your chamber is sealed before dawn. Everything inside is stripped, scrubbed, scorched. The linens are thrown into the fire. The mattress was buried behind the chapel. The nursemaid who stayed until the end is dismissed without pension. Your body is not embalmed. There is too much damage. The bishop says your suffering sanctified you, that your soul is already clean, that no earthly preservation is needed. But the real reason is simpler. No one wants to see what your face became. The coffin is closed. The portrait used at the memorial is not recent. It shows you at 7, before the swelling, before the sores, before your name became a whisper wrapped in silk. The eyes are bright. The skin was unblemished. The painter's lie is now your only legacy. The people leave flowers at the chapel gates. They cry for a princess who never existed. In the days after, your name fades from speech. The letters you wrote are burned. Your gowns were divided among your cousins. Your title reassigned to a niece who still has her teeth. No one speaks of illness anymore, only strength, of beauty, of bloodline. The chroniclers mark your death with a single line. Her Highness passed away in sleep, age 15. There is no mention of your wounds, no record of the doctors, no note of the rituals or the prayers or the smell that clung to your sheets. History cannot bear the truth of your body, because it is not noble, because it is not useful, because it reminds them that blue blood turns black like any other. But behind the chapel, a boy lays a wilted lily at your unmarked grave. A servant, the one who used to light your evening candles and hum softly when you couldn't sleep. He says your name, not the royal one, the one you told him in secret. He says it softly, as if afraid the wind might carry it where it's not allowed. You are gone, but they pretend you were never really here, because to admit your suffering would require admitting why it happened. The inbreeding, the silence, the need to protect appearances at the cost of flesh, the belief that royal suffering should be hidden, not healed. They rewrite your ending, not out of malice, out of tradition, because that's what they do with girls like you. They bury the body, they bless the rot, they lie, and the next daughter to fall sick will be told the same thing you were, that the king's touch is healing, that silk can cover anything, that dying quietly is a kind of nobility. But no matter what they write, the truth still sleeps in your ruined bones.